Okay, so let's dive right in. When you think of an ancient city of sin, one name probably pops into your head: Nineveh. It's this legendary place from the Bible, totally infamous for its wickedness, a place that was basically marked for divine punishment. Its reputation it's lasted for millennia.
And yeah, that reputation, it comes straight from the book of Jonah. The story is, well, it's pretty terrifying. God takes one look at all the evil stuff happening in Nineveh and decides, that's it. He sends the prophet Jonah with a really stark message. You guys have 40 days. Clean up your act or your city is toast.
But what if that's not the whole story? What if the legend is just the beginning? Now, let's jump forward, like 2,600 years, to modern-day Iraq. Archaeologists are digging through the ruins of this very city, and they find something truly horrifying. A discovery that completely flips the script on the entire legend. So what this discovery did was basically open up a 2,600-year-old cold case, a crime scene. And that's exactly how we're going to treat it. We're going to dig into the evidence and figure out what really happened to Nineveh.
And this all boils down to one massive question, right? Did this ancient prophecy actually come true? Was the city wiped out by an act of God? Or was there something else going on? Something, much more human? All right, so our investigation starts right at the scene of the crime, the Nergal Gate. This is one of the main grand entrances into Nineveh, and what the archaeologists found there was chilling. A thick black layer of ash and charcoal, a clear sign of a massive, city-destroying fire. But then, under all the collapsed stone and rubble, they found them. 2 human skeletons, just lying there unburied, right where they died in the chaos. As one of the archaeologists, Ulrike Berger, said, these weren't people who got a proper burial. Not at all. They were victims, casualties of the city's absolute final, violent breaths. Their bones were just waiting there for thousands of years to tell their tale. So let's be clear. We're not just looking at history here. We're looking at murder victims.
Okay, so any good detective will tell you, to solve the crime, you've got to understand the victim. So before we go any further, let's peel back that whole city of sin label and get to know the real Nineveh.
And the very first thing that hits you about Nineveh? Its size. It was absolutely massive. We've got drone surveys now that show it was over 1,800 acres. Now, I know, 1,800 acres is just a number, it's kind of hard to picture, so let's put that in perspective for you.
Think about New York's Central Park. Big, right? Well, Nineveh was more than twice that size. So we're not talking about some dusty little backwater town here. This was a sprawling ancient megacity.
And it wasn't just big, it was incredibly sophisticated for its time. We're talking huge royal palaces, beautiful public gardens. They even had libraries. The whole thing was surrounded by walls that stretched for 7.5 miles, and in some spots, they were nearly 150 feet thick. This was no simple den of vice, no way. This was one of the biggest, most advanced cities on the planet at the time.
Okay, so that raises a pretty big question, doesn't it? If Nineveh was this amazing, advanced capital, why did it get such a bad rap in the Bible? Why the city of sin label? Well, to find the motive for its eventual destruction, we have to look at the empire it was the heart of, the Assyrian Empire.
The Assyrians, they had a brand, and they cultivated it very, very carefully. If you look at their own art, the stone carvings they left behind, you see exactly how they saw themselves. As a total military machine, ripped soldiers, deadly archers, and long, long lines of defeated people being dragged away as captives. They weren't trying to make friends. They wanted you to be absolutely terrified of them.
And let me be clear, this wasn't just them bragging in their art. No, this was a calculated strategy. The Assyrians basically invented psychological warfare. The whole point was to broadcast their brutality, to build this reputation for being so terrifying that other cities would just give up. They wanted to win the battle before it even started.
And it worked. You can actually break down their whole imperial playbook. Step 1, Project Terror. Be as brutal as possible and make sure everyone hears about it. Step 2, use that scary reputation to make other cities surrender without a fight. Step 3, and this is the smart part. If a city surrendered, they wouldn't just burn it down. They preserve its assets, take its skilled workers, its chariots, whatever, and just absorb it into their own empire. And step 4, to keep everyone in line, they would deport huge groups of people, scattering them across the empire to crush any chance of rebellion. So you see, the wickedness the Bible talks about, for the people they conquered, That wasn't a legend. It was their terrifying reality.
Okay, so now we know the victim, Nineveh, and we know the motive. This empire built on fear created a lot of enemies. So let's go back to that crime scene, back to the Nergal Gate, and see if we can finally figure out what happened. We're about to see how Nineveh really fell, and how, in a very strange way, that prophecy came true.
The end came in the year 612 BCE, and it was fast. But it wasn't an act of God. It was an act of pure human revenge. A whole coalition of Assyria's enemies. We're talking the Babylonians, the Medes, all of these groups who had been crushed under the Assyrian boot for centuries. They finally got together and said, enough. They laid siege to the city. And after just 3 months, they did the impossible. They broke through those massive walls. And the revenge they took, it was total.
And this brings us right back to those 2 skeletons at the gate. The archaeologists digging them up, they realized they weren't just uncovering old stones. They were, in a way, becoming witnesses to the last horrifying moments of Nineveh.
And this is where it gets truly heartbreaking. When scientists analyzed the skeletons, the teeth, the bones, they found out who these victims were. They weren't soldiers. They were young, probably teenagers. They weren't wearing armor. They didn't have weapons. They had horrible injuries, head trauma, broken bones. They were just kids, civilians, killed trying to run for their lives.
Professor Stefan Moll really sums it all up. The armies that destroyed Nineveh, they basically used the Assyrians' own playbook against them. They paid them back in their own currency. The empire that was built on fear was brought down by an even bigger, more brutal act of terror. The people of Nineveh, in the end, suffered the exact same fate they had forced on countless others for hundreds of years: total slaughter and deportation for anyone who survived.
So when you think about it, the prophecy did come true. Nineveh was destroyed. But the hand that struck the blow wasn't divine. It was human. It was fueled by generations of hate and a desire for vengeance. And that just leaves you wondering, right? How many of our oldest stories, these tales of angry gods and wicked cities getting what they deserve, how many of them are actually just echoes? Echoes of real, brutal human violence, forgotten by the history books, but living on as myth.